explain how and why various groups responded to calls for the expansion of civil rights from 1960 to 1980. There were various groups involved in the African American civil rights movement, for instance, groups like the NAACP, CORE, SCLC, and SNCC. Now, there were obviously more groups, but these are just the more popular ones. The NAACP, which stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, was founded in February 12, 1909, in New York. This group was founded by 13 people, some of which are Webb Du Bois and I.W. Wells. The NAACP's goal was to champion equal rights and eliminate racial prejudice, which they eventually achieved. CORE, which stands for the Congress of Racial Equality, was founded February 1942 in Chicago. They took a different approach by organizing sit-ins and blatant disregard for the law. So, for instance, driving 50 in a 25, just to make a statement. While the NAACP fought for African American rights through laws, so for instance, challenging Supreme Courts or challenging prominent figures in the judiciary system, the NAACP took the more social route by protesting.
Conference is a civil rights organization founded in 1957 in Atlanta, Georgia. The SCLC advocated confrontation of segregation through civil dissent. This direct action included boycotts, marches, and other forms of nonviolent protest, and was considered controversial by many Black in the community who felt that segregation should be challenged in the courts. The SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, focused its efforts on citizenship, schools, and made efforts to segregate individual cities such as Albany, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, and St. Augustine, Florida. This group also sought to coordinate youth-led, nonviolent, direct action campaigns against segregation and other forms of racism. It was made up mostly of Black college students who practiced direct action protests.
They had different methods of protesting, were all working towards a common goal. The success of those protests not only benefited African Americans, it also benefited Native Americans and Hispanics. They were also oppressed in society.
F. Kennedy. During Johnson's presidency, he made it clear that there had to be a change in civil rights at that time. He wanted to include the federal government, which was not included into this movement until 1964 at the time. So the first step of the federal government within the civil rights movement for African Americans in 1960 was the public law. The public law would ban discrimination towards those of color, those of a different sex, or those of different religion. And within the same year that this public law was, brought to Congress, it was authorized and accepted within the same year. So, with that being said, the public law would ban those to hire, fire, or promote those of, different race, color, whatever. And it would ban those to say that another person could not come into a hotel, restaurant, or movie theater because of their skin tone. Also, another way that they put effort into the civil rights movement of African Americans in 1960 was desegregating such educational places such as elementaries, middle schools, high schools, and universities to relinquish a fair education for all students of any race, gender, or religion. And then, not to top that off, they also strengthened enforcement on voting rights, causing Congress to sign the Voting Rights Act, authorize it, and create it into a permanent law, which it got ratified. So that gave all, races the ability to vote, And that's that, I guess. Hey, yo!
Still recording? Oh my gosh.